My grandpa has a massive movie collection, so I decided that once a week I'm gonna watch a movie that I've never seen, rate it, give you my honest thoughts and reviews. I don't know what yet to call this series, but I was a little tired of only showing me buying DVDs or reselling them, so I thought we could mix it up a bit and do a movie review. I did cheat this week, technically, I guess, because I did watch a movie that I found at a thrift store. I watched The Darkest Minds. I'm almost 10 years late though, because this movie was released in 2018. Let me grab the summary of the movie so I can tell you what it's about in case you haven't seen it. Okay, according to Google, The Darkest Minds is a 67 minutes French. This. Okay, hold on. That's the wrong summary. The Darkest Minds follows a dystopian world where a mysterious. Can I read? The Darkest Minds follows a dystopian world where a mysterious disease kills 98% of Americans' children's. The Darkest Minds follows a dystopian world where a mysterious disease kills 98% of Americans' children. The survivors develop dangerous supernatural psychic abilities, leading the government to fear and imprison them in a brutal rehabilitation camp. Okay, cool. Now that we have the summary, kinda, because obviously I was having a little problem there reading. I don't know what happened. The one thing that I noticed immediately, and I could not let go the entire time that I watched the movie, was the fact that young Ruby, the main character and protagonist, was casted. I think I want to put this mic down. So the one thing that I noticed immediately that I really could not wrap my head around the entire time that I watched the movie, and I'm not gonna lie, it kind of got under my skin a little bit, was the fact that the main character and protagonist, Ruby, was casted as a dark-skinned actress as a child, and then when she grows up, she's light-skinned, which I'm not saying is anything wrong with any of these shades of complexion, but my thing is it does not match. It would have made more sense if she was light-skinned as a child and then her complexion darkened over the years as she got older. That the casting there was just off. They simply could have hired two darker skinned actresses for the role, or vice versa, hired two light skinned actresses to play the role. I don't know. I just felt like the actors, aside from skin complexion, looked nothing alike. So it's hard to believe that that was younger Ruby. I just could not wrap my head around that. And then staying on theme with the first part of the movie, that whole like first 10-15 minutes where they're doing the birthday gifts, all of that kind of felt disconnected from the rest of the story. I initially did not understand why the mom didn't remember Ruby. It didn't click until much later in the movie that I realized, oh, she basically wiped herself from their memories. But then I was also confused because how did the dad's memory get wiped if she wasn't even touching him? And then I would have loved to seen his reaction as well as the mom's when she walked out. Why was it only the mom's reaction to forgetting her? Did she remove herself from just the mom and the dad, or her extended family too? Maybe I'm just asking too many questions. Going back to the time jump, I would have also liked to see what the camp looked like for the kids in the camp, and what are these kids enduring and going through while they're in these camps. What are these people really doing to them? Obviously, we kind of get a snippet when Ruby is cleaning the boots and then the other girl kind of defends her, because obviously they're not treating them well. And we can tell from the lighting and how dark everything is during those scenes that it really was depressing and sad. And again, I point out the colors because everything is dark. And the only colors that you see is the colors of the kids, because they are segregated by their colors. So you see the greens, you see the yellows, you see the blues. And it wasn't until the doctor, the other doctor, helped Ruby escape that you really begin to see, as they drive down the road and she's in the car, you see the vibrant colors start to appear. And not to get too far ahead, but because I'm talking about the lighting and the colors and things like that, and when she goes to Camp DEO, I believe is what you call it. DEO that's definitely Supergirl. I think it's EDO. When she goes to the camp, where everybody is trying to find this hidden camp for kids that's like them with these gifts, even though the kids are no longer segregated by color, you still see that it's nice and vibrant. And it's not until she later goes to help the league, that the colors become more muted. It's not as dark and depressing as it was in the beginning when she was at the initial camp, but it definitely is more muted colors. Okay, moving on to the gang. Let's talk about them. I'll call them the gang. The original gang or trio was Charles, also known as Chubbs, Zoo, and Liam. Ruby joined. And the thing that I didn't necessarily like about her joining this trio was the fact that they rushed the relationship between her and Liam. I feel like that was so unnecessary. I would have loved to see the individual relationship with her and each of the members. And then I also would have loved to see more of a relationship between her and Zeus. Her name is not Zeus, it's Zoo. Zoo was not vocal. And a lot of that likely stems from trauma, but I would have loved to see her kind of come out of her shell and take this trust in Ruby and to identify her as an older sister. And you see her being more vulnerable with Ruby than you've seen with the guys, because she was also a girl, so she relates to Ruby, but also because she's the baby of the group. Instead, they gave us a rushed relationship between Ruby and Liam. And as we all know, the gang was originally trying to find their way to the EDO so that they can live as normal people with these gifts and not be subjected to these camps or the league. But I also felt like the EDO storyline was rushed, and they just could have took more time with this story. And I say this because it was so easy and so quick to realize that Clancy was up to something fishy. Like, as soon as he seen Liam and Ruby out there dancing and he was side-eyeing them and looking, I knew that he had another agenda. Before you even see him on the computer telling how many of each kid it was in each color, I knew he was up to something. They just made it so obvious. And even with that little snippet of him in the computer, it's so many ways that they just could have played into that. And it was multiple times that they showed Charles observing all of these little things. And again, they could have used that to their advantage to add to the storyline of the EDO and Clancy being over it, not because he was the slip kid, but because he was an orange, but he had his own agenda. He wanted to be manipulative. He wanted to be controlling. And you could see that Charles was piecing this together. And just when I thought that they were going to do something with that storyline, they didn't. And it was a huge letdown. Now, Charles did mention to Ruby that things just was not as good as they thought it was going to be initially. But I would have loved to see him observe all of these little things. And then he pulled Liam and Zoo to the side, leave Ruby out of it. He pulls them to the side and he's almost like, I noticed this, I noticed that, I noticed this, I noticed that. This place is not good from us. We need to leave. He's keeping it a secret from Ruby because she working with Clancy, or that's what he's thinking. Liam gets defensive because, you know, Ruby, his girl, maybe at some point they would have pulled Ruby in and told her, and then she defends Clancy. So now it's this big ordeal, and then boom, that's when you realize Clancy has this other agenda. I'm not the story writer, so I don't know. That just would have added so much more. Something else that they just could have taken a step further, but they dropped the ball on it, was the computer and the text messages Clancy sent out again with the head count. And I say this because Ruby asked Charles, hold on, this part about to confuse me. I say this because Ruby asked Clancy if Charles can use his computer, as in Clancy's computer, so that Charles can then contact his parents to let them know that he was okay and alive. And I just knew that this was going to be the moment that Charles finally pieced everything together, because he'd been peeping all these little different things. And I just knew he was going to get on that computer because, you know, he has enhanced intelligence. I just knew he was going to get on that computer, and then boom, he see the text messages. No, they took it to a whole nother level. They made Clancy try to rape Ruby. That's when you realize he's the villain, but you already knew he was the villain. He was up to something shady. I told you it was fishy the moment he was looking at them out there on that dance floor dancing. Even with that, they still rushed to the next thing to reveal he was a villain. Like, it was just no build up for me. It was no build up. It was so many ways that they could have built it up to him being the antagonist and the villain, but they dropped the ball on it. So much stuff could have happened in that to create even more tension and build up. The other thing that kind of pissed me off with the reveal of Clancy being the antagonist and villain was the fact that Ruby's powers weren't necessarily stronger than his. Obviously, they're both oranges, but I would have just loved for her to have bust his bubble. Like, yeah, you want to manipulate me, you want to control me, you want to wipe out these parts to make me forget so that I can be the person you want me to be so you can control and manipulate me. But baby, you can't, because of boom, my powers are stronger than yours. Like, I would have loved it if she had shown him how she wiped her parents' memory or made her parents forget her, and then he in turn tried that, and then it just ends up not working because he's an orange, but he's not her type of orange. I don't know. Do you agree or disagree? I don't think I've actually talked about the league too much, so let me give you my thoughts on that as well, because I'm still kind of confused about what the league is, what do they do, and what the purpose of the league was. I think that it would have been so cool. Just as I said, I wish that the parents would have been integrated into the story more. I wish if we could have seen more of the perspective from the league. Like, really, what was the league's agenda? Because even when they are reintroduced at the end of the movie, it's still unclear. At least for me, it was still unclear what their purpose and agenda was. I don't understand what they was trying to do. And then they got Ruby up there on the podium or on the stage, and she wiping paint across her forehead. What was that supposed to symbolize? Is their main agenda to take the camps down, or was it more to it. Overall, I think the narration was good, and I love that it happened at different points of the story or different points of the movie, because I felt like it was a good transition and you could really see the perspective of Ruby almost from this third person perspective. All of that to say, I rate the movie a 5 out of 10. I am unlikely to watch again, and it just was not enough of build up or tension for me to keep me on the edge of my seat, or I guess technically bed, because I was watching this in my bed. Overall, I felt the movie was rushed, and if they had taken a little more time and explored other storylines for the movie, then it would have been a little bit better, but it definitely was lacking and left me with a lot of questions. Let me know what you thought of the movie. If you agree or disagree, I would love to hear your perspective. If you like videos like this, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, hit that post notification bell so you don't miss when I post. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns for me, or you just want to chat, you can drop a comment down below or head to the community tab and I'll get back to you in either of those places. And you already know, like always, I'll talk to you later. Bye, and thanks for watching.